Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Product Rising podcast from Women in Product. I hope you've been enjoying your summer and the product coaching series, which recently wrapped up. For this fall, we've got a variety of thought-provoking and insightful episodes designed to help you navigate the challenges and the opportunities in the field of product management. I'm excited to introduce today Shannon Peavey. Shannon is a product veteran with 20 years of experience across a variety of companies, from the Walt Disney Company to AI business intelligence software startup ThoughtSpot. She spent 6 years specializing in product growth and has led teams scaling both consumer and B2B products through novel product-led growth programs and strategies. Shannon is the producer and host of a new series that we'll be launching today, Exploring Growth Product Management. Welcome to the podcast, Shannon.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm thrilled to get the opportunity to roll out this series to our listeners. It is jam-packed with not only practical, but also, I have to say, rather exciting information on an area that is near and dear to my heart. And our guests are, of course, fabulous. Their experience is raw, real, and far-reaching, and they don't hold back.
So let's take a step back and start with the core idea behind this series, because you came up with it and I thought it was pretty genius. But why did you feel it was important to create a podcast series focused on product growth?
Well, when it comes to product management, I think we all have a pretty solid understanding of what that is and how that field works and what people do as product managers. But when you start talking about growth product management, people tend to have all sorts of questions. I wanted to talk to people who are experts in growth product management and ask them to define it, clear up the confusion, really demystify this area and shed light on what it's for and why it matters. There are many benefits and advantages to having a team or even a person focused on growth product management, but it is important to understand that it can often affect an entire organizational structure. And it's also important to understand that there is an element of timing that needs to be considered before a company should put any resources toward growth product. It isn't true that every company needs to focus on it from day one. I perceive that the interest and fluency the industry has with growth product management is growing, and it just feels like the perfect time to highlight it like this.
Yeah. As you mentioned, the area of product growth can be difficult to define. Why do you think it's been so misunderstood?
I think there are multiple reasons, and one of those is the way the word growth is inserted. We all know and hear about growth on its own, and that word in itself represents the efforts of a company to grow in all kinds of ways, from marketing and lead generation to business development, international expansion, and the like. But what we're talking about here is growth product management, and that is the word growth being a modifier of the product role specifically. It often gets confusing. Another reason is because growth product management describes the type of efforts that many companies have been employing for years without any sort of name or term attached. This was the case for me, as in consumer product, we were always employing what are now known as growth tactics. For instance, PLG or product-led growth, self-service, freemium, growth loops, without having any of this terminology, because many of our businesses were operating at tremendous scale at all times. And with the explosion of the cloud and SaaS businesses, suddenly the B2B said, hey, we want that scale too. Enter growth product management, where PMs were put on the case to start figuring out how to do that. From there, the niche has quickly evolved. That said, no two companies seem to do growth product management in exactly the same way, particularly with regard to how they organize growth team members. You'll hear about a variety of ways that teams are organized in this series.
So why now? Why is the timing right for this podcast series? Growth product management has been around for a little while. Why now?
Yeah, great question. The growth product management specialization has seemingly been on a slow burn in the background for quite a while now. It's not the case that every company has a growth team or growth PM on staff, but most people have at least heard of growth product management at this point, even if they don't really know what it is. Meanwhile, as the pace generally increases in the tech sector and competition gets ever more fierce, it appears that growth product roles are in higher demand. There simply aren't all that many people who have experience in this area. It's an opportunity, really, to illuminate a career option and a set of skills for people who may be wondering where to go and what to do next, as well as a great time for companies to learn more about growth PMs could do for them.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. So you have an incredible list of folks that you're speaking with for this series, like growth advisor Leah Tharin, Adobe's Deepti Pradip, Pendo's Nicole Mace, even an interview with an AI version of Lovable's Elena Verna. What makes these guests stand out, in your opinion?
Well, growth product tends to attract people who are themselves a little bit unconventional. They are open to and even thrive on change and don't mind getting into the mess and diving headfirst into the pool. Each of these guests have made a name for themselves in product growth almost as a byproduct of being game for giving it a try. None necessarily aimed for careers in this area, but they came to it because they had the right skills as well as the right mindset. And in many cases, they came up with their own playbooks. They're interesting people who could have pursued a variety of paths. And sometimes those paths came together quite nicely in product growth positions. It worked out very well for each of them. They have a lot to say about the importance of the work they do and are also aware that there is misinformation out there that needs clarification. They are all future looking and forthcoming individuals.
Yes, and curious and creative, I think, as well, was something that stuck out to me. So you conducted the interviews for this series, and I luckily got to sit in and listen to some of them. So what was that experience like for you?
I found it exhilarating. I felt real solidarity with each of these guests, and I loved hearing about their challenges, success stories, and how they think growth product might evolve in the future. It truly is all up from here. I also enjoyed hearing about the wide ranging, sort of zigzagging paths they all took to get into this area. It was never a straight line, not for any of them.
Yeah, seems like that's always a theme in product management jobs, is
Absolutely.
zigzagging paths to get there. Yeah. So are there any moments that really stand out to you from the interviews? Did they change how you think about your own journey?
Oh, absolutely. There are more than I can list. I was particularly impressed with the honest perspective that Leah Tharin offered on the challenge of adding growth product managers to existing teams. Leah is a consultant and advisor who has also served as a growth leader in several companies. And she noted, as many of our guests did, that because growth product managers are focused on the velocity at which companies can attract, engage, and convert customers, there's constant discovery going on that can reveal friction that exists in the user experience. And in order to smooth those over, that often means growth efforts can overlap a bit with core product management teams' work. And this requires, perhaps above all, great relationship management skills. Those are soft skills. This perspective came through in each interview in all sorts of industries. And it resonated with me tremendously as I experienced tension in multiple team structures that was at times difficult to manage. But importantly, as Leah noted, support has to come from the top.
So tell us about the first episode. Who's the guest and what can listeners expect?
Our first guest is Leah Tharin, a consultant and advisor in growth product with more than 20 years working for all sorts of tech companies. She has become a sought after expert in product led growth, known for her candid advice. In fact, she has her own blog and podcast, Product Tea with Leah. And we were fortunate enough to spend some real quality time with her.
Yeah, she definitely has plenty to say. So, Shannon, I am really excited about the series. Thank you so much for shaping it, for leading it, for hosting it. Our first full episode will be released Tuesday, September 2nd, right after the holiday weekend. Be ready to dive back in. It'll be perfect timing. We'll be dropping the episodes for this series weekly, with a couple of exceptions. So I want just to let people know that on Tuesday, September 9th, so 1 week after we drop our first episode, we'll have a separate special episode that is taking a look at integrating Gen AI into your product roadmap without letting the hype override your clarity and purpose. So that is a very special episode. It's separate from this series, and it'll be on September 9th. And then also we will be on hiatus Tuesday, September 16th, in advance of the Women in Product Conference that will be held on September 17th in San Jose. So I am hoping that all of you have tickets already to the conference. But if you don't, fear not, you can get them currently at womenpm.org. So please go there and sign up for the conference. There are some fantastic speakers at this year's event, including keynotes by Takedra Mawakana, who is the co-CEO of Waymo, and Claire Vo, who is the Chief Product and Technology Officer of LaunchDarkly. So don't miss the conference. I'll be there, and I hope to see you there. So this growth product management series will pick up again on Tuesday, September 23rd, and conclude in October. Thank you, Shannon. I think this is going to be a great series, and it's been such a pleasure working with you on it. I'm really excited. I just want to remind our viewers that you can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and also on the Women in Product YouTube channel. So make sure you click that follow button and don't miss the episode on September 2nd with Leah Tharin. Thanks. This podcast is an original production of Women in Product. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Women in Product YouTube channel. Leave us a review so that others can discover us, or share this episode with someone you know. Original music provided by Jenny Hahn. Thanks for joining.